A deal on Dickens, who could resist? A stack of Austen, warmly kissed. Golden Age crime tales twist and turn, every page a treasure to learn. Books keep coming home with me, piles so tall they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea, reading always feels so free.
Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. I have a book review. I probably would have had this book review wait its turn in line because I have, I think a couple books I have a book still for June's Journey for the Inklings to finish recording, and I think I have another one for Jane Austen July to record that I finished during the appropriate months. But I told myself that I needed to record this one because there's an episode of She Done It I can't allow myself to listen to until I record this video. So what am I talking about? This is a book review on She Done It's on the book that She Done It chose to make their read of the month, which was Michael Gilbert's Death and Captivity. Not their reread one, it was just their normal August read. So I already know that I've liked Michael Gilbert's work that I've read previously, and even though we were getting to the end of the month, I was like, I could probably knock this out pretty quickly, and I was right about that. So my first Michael Gilbert that I read was, and hold on, I actually have it over here. So the first Michael Gilbert that I read was the British Library Crime Classic January box book. I think it was for January. I think this is the one. It was either January or February, but I'm pretty sure this one was January. And that was Sky High. So that was the first Michael Gilbert that I read. And I really enjoyed this one. I still have to record a review on this. Maybe I'll record a review on this one after I'm done recording this one. The one for Death and Captivity. Because I can't believe I haven't recorded this one yet. So I'll set that to the side. Maybe I'll record this the review for Sky High after I record the one for Death and Captivity. But that was the first one that I read. And then I ran into a couple of Michael Gilbert short stories in some British Library Crime Classic short story collections this year. So thus far, I've actually really been enjoying his work. I had a book haul where I picked up some of his books and I showed those to y'all. But this will be only the second full novel of his that I've read, even though this is the first one that I saw when I was perusing the British Library Crime Classic collection for books that I was looking to pick up at one point. So I started off by reading this on Libby. I borrowed the Kindle book, but I knew that I was going to switch over to the physical once that arrived. And I am glad that I didn't just borrow this one. I can see myself rereading this. I gave this a strong 5 out of 5 stars. So there's a lot going on in this book. First of all, it builds on Gilbert's own experiences. The atmosphere is built on Gilbert's own experiences as a POW in one of the Italian POW camps during World War II. And so there is some authenticity to the atmosphere that really I feel is unmistakable. And it adds an extra layer of interest to this story. It's not your normal setting. It's not a normal country house mystery or even some of the ones that I've seen set in hospitals or in theater. I've seen Golden Age mystery set in various different places, a lot of country houses, a lot of ones that are like on boats or trains or those kind of things. But this is the first one that I've seen set in a prisoner of war camp. The closest thing I've seen to this one, and I'm going to put this on pause again to grab what I'm going to compare it to. So the closest one to setting that I've had to Death and Captivity is probably Christiana Brand's Green for Danger, which I want to say I read last year. This one also is actually set during World War II. I think this is World War II, not World War I. Yeah. And it's World War II. But it's set in a military hospital. But it's a military hospital in England, so. But that's the closest thing I have. And although I've had other mysteries that have been set in hospitals, this military hospital comes closest in feel to what I have going on in Death and Captivity. And even that's not really comparable. This, therefore, feels like there are almost two different books going on, but they still are married very nicely together. Because both of the concurrent plot lines could be very interesting and rich on their own. You have, and I'm going to forewarn you, there might be some spoilers in here. I'll try not to ruin who the murderer is or anything like that. But I am going to talk some plot points. But, so this is a murder mystery that also is taking place concurrently with a prisoner of war escape attempt, and actually multiple escape attempts. So you have these two stories, a great escape type story, which that's could very easily be its own book, and a murder mystery which could be its own book. But these two different storylines are married very nicely together, but there is a lot going on. So it's one of those books that I think that it will become richer and more enjoyable with each read, because I think I'll pick up more things each time. Because for the first read, I initially actually had to take a little while to get into it, because I initially got a bit overwhelmed by a bunch of characters being introduced at the beginning. Now, to be fair, I don't know how much of this was the book's problem and how much of it is the fact that, I've been having a bit of a rough month with some migraine type symptoms. Today's actually been a good day, thanks be to God. But a lot of this month I've had a lot of light sensitivity and a lot of energy issues. But I'm sure that affected my ability to focus somewhat. Also, what affected my ability to focus somewhat is I never absorb quite as well when I'm reading from a Kindle. And for a simple mystery, that might have been fine. But this book has a lot of different details going on. And I wanted to absorb the rich atmosphere of this completely different setting. And that's the other thing. I'm dealing with a completely foreign setting from what I'm normally used to. I don't have the normal country house tropes that, maybe would have been easier to fall back on. And maybe a little bit easier to absorb. I've got that shorthand in my head from reading so many country house mysteries that those are fairly easy to absorb no matter what format I'm reading from. But with this being such a foreign format, it's a foreign setting, it being a, Italian prisoner of war camp, I had that to absorb. And then there seemed like, I want to say like the first 3 or 4 people I meet, their last name begins with B. And so it's like, for me, initially trying to remember who was who, and then like attaching the right ranks as well. Because I think, I have at the beginning, Captain Benucci. I have let's see, who else do I have? I want to say I have Roger Bifold at the beginning. I want to say I had another B in there. Oh, there's a Captain Bearlane. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Now, Captain Lavery's name is not close to Captain Benucci's at all, but, you know, it's still within the first 10 pages, I end up meeting, you know, a few people with their last names beginning with B. And that's just a minor detail that for me, reading a format that I'm not necessarily as comfortable in a setting that is a bit different than quite a bit different from what I'm used to for Golden Age mystery, and then my own focus issues early, you know, when I started this book probably contributed to my initially having to take a little bit more effort to get into it. But I don't think that was Gilbert's. It was a Gilbert issue. I think a lot of it was a me issue. Yeah, so I felt that, first of all, I did not read the introduction before I went into the book. I knew from the reading, I think it was the back of this book that mentioned that he was a POW, or maybe it was the introduction to Sky High that mentioned that it was POW. So, I already knew that going in, that the author had been in a prisoner of war camp. So I was pretty certain that anything I was going to be reading about that would be accurate. And I am glad, however, that I waited until I read I waited to read the introduction till the end, because I got a little bit more background about his own escape attempts and the fact that I guess he and his buddies that he escaped. First of all, this book is dedicated to a couple of his buddies that he escaped with, which I thought was really cool. And also it mentioned his fictionalized version of his escape attempt that he wrote, called The Long Journey Home. And I guess that one of his buddies, Tony Davies, I guess both of his buddies were also writers who escaped with him. Newby wrote Love and War in the Apennines, and Tony Davies wrote When the Moon Rises. And these are all about their joint exploits, you know, during this period of time. So I'm going to have to probably look into those books. But back to the actual book itself. As usual, as I've experienced with Sky High and Gilbert's short stories, I enjoy his writing style. I enjoy his characterizations. I think they're strong, especially as I started getting a bit of a grip, more of a grip of who was who. I think that the menace of, you know, the typical menace that you get with the murder mystery is exacerbated by the extra menace of the fact that you're in a prisoner of war camp with someone who the guy in charge appears to have at least he has a tendency towards war crimes, shall we say, and he also you also have the added countdown, you know, of when are the Allies going to arrive in Italy? How fast can we, you know, how long will it take for them to get here? Will we be able to get our tunnel finished in time? And will we be able to escape before either the tunnel is discovered and exposed, or in time for like the Allies to arrive and for us to maybe have a safer journey, or before we get shipped off to German camps, say, because the Allies arrived. That's a concern that's mentioned at one point as well. The murder myth is interesting because, like I said, this felt like it could easily have been two separate books, but they were married together well. So the murder mystery is almost secondary to the escape stuff, because that's the stuff that's really most at the forefront of everyone's minds. But they're also trying to solve this trying desperately to solve this murder mystery, because they believe that one of their diggers was set up to take the fall. And not only, do they want to save him from being executed by the Italians, they also would like to have their digger back too, because he's one of their escape experts. So you have all sorts of things tying together. You have the stresses of guys who have the guys who've gotten maybe a bit too comfortable being in the war camp and who are more irritated at the repercussions that might come upon the rest of the camp when people are caught, or when they find that wood that they were using for their to deal with their, to assist in their entertainment, when they find that wood has disappeared and has been using for tunnels. You see that guys are getting irritated, and guys who almost seem to have forgot that their duty is to try to escape, and to not begrudge that to the guys who are actively working on the escape. Some of these guys have gotten too comfortable, and it was an aspect I hadn't really thought about, that you might have guys who get that comfortable where you wonder if sometimes you had, besides the guys who would maybe tell on people who are trying to escape, or let information drop because they were traitors, for fear or whatever, you might also have the guys who just were starting to get upset, perhaps, because maybe they wouldn't outright betray their guys, but you could see where some guys might have come close to feeling like, they'd rather feeling less of kinship with their fellow prisoners, because they are making life less pleasant for them when they had got used to life in the camp, where they kind of hoped that they would just be able to wait things out until they just get released. So you have that dynamic within the camp, and also the fact that, kind of like a small village, everyone knows everything about everyone. So there's no secrets there. So you have that kind of gossip spreading quickly that you get in the small town, in the or in the country mysteries. So yeah, I just really enjoyed the combination of these two storylines, and getting this atmosphere of a prisoner of war camp, this really inside look that honestly the closest I've seen have been in the movies and things, or things like, I had a book that I remember reading as a kid about various different World War II escapes. And then, of course, movies like The Great Escape, or, movies like that, Stalag 17, those kind of things, where you had the inside look at the prisoner of war camps. But I don't know how many of those guys had, the same source. It was a definite, this feels genuine, probably because it comes from a source who had been there, who had these very similar experiences himself, or knew people who had these experiences. The description of when a tunnel comes down on someone, quite sure that this was something that either Gilbert experienced personally, or other people he knew might have experienced. It was just a very, yes, I've seen, you've seen The Great Escape, where Brosnan's character, I think, gets buried at one point. But the detail that this book addresses for that is just so, I found it to be very interesting. And I think that this will be a book that, like I said, I will read and reread and get more out of it each time. So I give it really pretty much 5 stars across the board. How do I rate it for fair play? Because I always look at these mysteries for fair play. Honestly, I'm not even sure that I can give it a completely fair reading for fair play, because I could have easily missed clues that Gilbert laid because I was like so distracted by all the atmosphere and all the details going on that he could have easily have hidden things within the details that I just didn't pick up on. And I do feel like the little bit of surprise I got at the end, I didn't feel though like it was like, oh, this is completely unfair. I do believe if I go back and read over, and I kind of have feelings where looking back, like, yeah, I think he did lay some of the groundwork for that. I think when I reread it, I will be able to pick up more of that groundwork that he laid that I was just too distracted to pick up on, because I was equally wanting to absorb both of these stories, and I couldn't decide personally where I wanted to focus more on the mystery part of it or on really hone in on the World War II prisoner of war camp, everything going on there, like the escape stuff. Like it was, I know my mind was just so, I wanted to equally absorb everything. I know I didn't to the extent I really wanted to, because there's just so much going on here. It's so rich. And I don't say there's so much going on here as a, negative thing. I think it's a positive thing. It's just that this is just really rich, really good book. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I don't know when I will end up rereading it next, but I will definitely be rereading this. And the funny thing was, I initially didn't know when or if I would pick this up, because when I initially had read the back of the book when I was looking through the British Library Crime Classic catalog, I was like, oh, World War II mystery taking place in a prisoner of war camp. I don't know, that's not really my normal golden age, mystery setting. Do I really want to go down that road right now? Am I really looking forward to that? I mean, I'm sure there'll be a great mystery, and this is before I read any of Michael Gilbert's work. So at that time, when I was looking through, I was like, I'm not in a rush to read. I'll read it eventually. So thank you to She Done It, that podcast, for making this your August book of the month, because I went and I found a used copy and I was able to enjoy this. And I will definitely be revisiting this book. Apparently there is a movie based off of this. It was called something else though. It was called, hold on. I think it was called, okay, it's in 1959. It was called Danger Within in Britain and called Breakout in the US. The director was Don Chaffee. And you have in there Richard Todd, also Richard Attenborough. Wasn't Attenborough in... Why do I think Attenborough was in Great Escape? Am I wrong about that? I might be wrong about that. Donald Houston, William Franklin, and Terrence Alexander. And then you have Peter Arne, who played Benucci. Oh, and there is an uncredited young Michael Caine in it. So people, in Martin Edwards' opinion, the book is better. I would imagine so, but I'm biased in that way. I usually believe the book is going to be better. And it's rare that it isn't, in my opinion. But yes. I've not watched the movie. Don't know if I will. I'm perfectly happy with the book. And I would definitely recommend it. Just a very interesting look into prisoner of war camp, and with a Golden Age murder mystery just sprinkled on top for a little bit of garnish. Anyway, that's actually a simplification, a gross diminishing of the effect of the mystery on the story. The mystery and the escape story really are two equally strong concurrent storylines, but you really got to read it yourself to truly enjoy and appreciate it. I would highly recommend it. Anyway, thank you, She Done It, for making this your book for August 2026. And I look forward to seeing, looking into next month's. I can't remember what that book is. I don't think I have it down here. Oh no, here it is. Let's see. Next month I will be. She Done It has main book club. Okay, so it's With a Bear Bodkin by Cyril Hart. So I haven't read him yet. That'll be good. So yeah, really enjoyed this. Highly recommend. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you the next time. God bless. Bye-bye.
Books keep coming home with me. Piles so tall, they're all I see. Turn a page and sail the sea. Reading always feels so free.